Was Andor the highlight of 2025? I have some big worries about The Mandalorian and Grogu. And was there actually too much content in 2025? Welcome to What Culture's Rebel Roundup. Hello, my fellow rebels, Jedis, and Sith. Welcome to something new for What Culture Star Wars, a brand new podcast which we are lovingly calling Rebel Roundup. So, the point of this podcast is to go through each week and look at the news, have some fun discussion topics, and discuss what you've been seeing in our community posts and on our social media and comments. Now, you may notice I am not here alone. Now, I haven't even introduced myself. So, for those that don't know me, I am CG Allen, aka CJ the Geek, and I am joined by a man who likes his aliens tall and hairy. It is Luke, otherwise known as I Like That Wookie. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, mate. What about yourself? Are you all ready for Christmas?
Now, when people watch this, Christmas will have been. So I'm hoping that I have survived Christmas so we can do some more episodes. But yes, right now is just before Christmas, which is relevant because the whole topic of this podcast is to look back at 2025. Now, before we get started, though, because people don't know us, I thought we'd do a little kind of mini introduction so you guys get to know us and understand where we are coming from. Now, I'm going to jump to Luke first to start with. So, Luke, tell us a little bit about yourself and why are you here to talk about Star Wars?
Yeah, no, of course, mate. I've loved Star Wars all my life, but from the ages of a sort of like 17, 18, 19, we all go through that little phase where we're trying to pretend that maybe we're a little bit too grown up for those things. I don't want to play with my Lego. I don't want to read my comics and stuff. Well, I kind of always did, but just in secret. So for the last sort of like decade until I got to around 30, it was very much an isolated sort of enjoyment, occasionally going on forums and things like that. But it wasn't until 2021 when I went to my first MCM Comic Con and met a bunch of Star Wars cosplayers and more people in the community that it started becoming something that like I enjoyed with other people. And now I'm lucky enough to enjoy it with like hundreds and hundreds of people online, in person, at conventions. Yeah, it's been revelationary.
Yeah, it's scary what Comic Cons and stuff can do, and enjoying Star Wars and loving Star Wars and just so much Star Wars media. And for those that don't know me as well, I've been working in media for God, I'm going to sound old here, for nearly 20 years, doing TV, movies, gaming reviews, and everything like that. And an opportunity came to talk about Star Wars, and I jumped at the chance. So I was really excited. But yeah, I'm at Comic Cons quite a bit, usually hosting a lot of the panels, interviewed lots of Star Wars guests over the years. I've been to Star Wars celebrations. And yeah, I'm really excited to talk with Luke here every week about Star Wars news and also get your thoughts and opinions. So please share your thoughts and opinions in the comments on our socials, and we'll be reading some of those out at the end of the podcast. But what we are going to do this podcast is we are going to go month by month through the year of 2025 and make a decision. Was 2025 a good year for Star Wars? And I've got to be honest, before I was looking at all of the topics, I thought it was quite a bad year for Star Wars, other than Andor. But looking at everything that's went on, I've realized actually it's been a very busy year for Star Wars.
No,
Like,
it's definitely more than I thought there was when we looked over the list, CJ.
yeah. So let's get started. So let's take a look at January. So I'm going to read through some of my notes here just to get us started. But in January, Marvel Comics finished the Battle of Jakku trilogy with their comic called Last Stand. Now, if you don't know what this trilogy was about, it's basically bit after Return of the Jedi, just a long bit before Force Awakens, because it's happening over Jakku. And it explains how that Star Destroyer we saw in the very first trailer of Force Awakens ended up on Jakku. And we get to see a little baby Ben Solo as well. Sorry, spoilers for the comic, but it did come out a year ago. Okay. So we're allowed. When this is getting released, it was a year ago. So but yeah, have you had a chance to read these comics at all, Luke? Or are
I
you just being
haven't,
known little
mate.
bits about them?
I'm intrigued though. That mention of the Star Destroyer over Jakku, it instantly made me think of in the campaign for Battlefront 2 as we see it go down. And I
Mm,
always thought, wouldn't it be cool to see on the ground sort of what it was like from down there, seeing that massive thing come down there, you know?
Yeah, it's scary how much time has passed since like The Force Awakens has come out to now. Was it 10 years for
10
The Force
years, yeah.
Awakens? It is crazy. I remember seeing that at the midnight screening, and 10 years later, we're still getting some more story behind The Force Awakens. Love it or hate it. I loved it personally. So it's good to see that more content's getting out there. And now that the full trilogy is released, I may go pick up the comics and finally get round to reading them. But also in January, Skeleton Crew had its final. Now, it came out in 2024, but the loophole is that the finale happened in January of
It did.
2025. Now, I know you are a huge fan of Skeleton Crew, Luke.
I loved it, mate. It was like a love letter to those Amber Lynn sort of 80s movies, you know, The Goonies, E.T., Never Ending Story, telling the story through the child's eyes, having that sort of feeling of peril and just constant fear around every corner for these children lost in the galaxy. Really great performances. Jude Law, who played the baddie in it, absolutely brilliant. He made me so angry on one occasion, the way he was treating those children, that I was weeping. It made me feel like I was a kid again. You know, it was
Mm,
really refreshing to see an entirely different type of story told in Star Wars. Yes, we see that in the books and the comics, but for me, it was the first time on screen where we've seen them really investigate something that's completely out of the realm of what we know before. You know?
mm. Any sort of scenes or highlights from it that you really enjoyed? I know the
Yeah.
twist of who Jude Law was kind of a. I'm trying to be careful not to spoil it for people as well, because some people might not have got round to it. But
I think there were a lot of people who slept on it. I think there's a lot of people who maybe
mm,
haven't watched it yet. So it's difficult to pick a particular favorite. I will say, as a standout character, Neil, who is not an Autolan like Max Rebo,
mm,
the blue elephant little lad, he was fantastic. He was a cross between maybe, if you ever watched Rugrats, Chucky Finster,
mm,
a scaredy cat, and the lad from the Goonies who does the truffle shuffle, Chunk,
yeah.
very much sort of that vibe. He was a standout for me. Standout scene probably is that one I just mentioned, to be fair, where Jude Law's character, he does a bit of a turn and he's very unkind to the children. It really made me feel like when I was a little boy again, when like, the teacher does something, you know, is empirically unfair, but there's nothing you can do about it, you know?
Mm. Yeah, it's a shame that I don't think they'll probably, well, I haven't heard anything, but I don't think they'll be bringing it back because, as you say, a lot of people did not switch on to Skeleton Crew, which is a shame. But I think that's going to be it for that kind of timeline and those characters on a Disney Plus show.
I'm hoping the characters at least come back, mate. I'm hoping the characters at least come
Mm,
back because it's in that time frame of the Mandalorian and Ahsoka and stuff like that. There were little tiny Easter eggs which made you think maybe it could connect to bits and pieces. But one of the things that maybe it doesn't have going for it is that they sat on the show for an entire year. It was due to come out, and then Iger came back into Disney, decided
mm,
what to hold on to the next financial year, so it was an instant hit, sort of financially, and maybe people got a bit sick of hearing about it, but not knowing what it was about. I don't know, but people who haven't seen it are definitely missing out. Really great fun family adventure. You don't even, obviously, people watching this, I assume, are fans of Star Wars. But if you've got family members or kids or uh, anyone who isn't a fan of Star Wars, I think that probably this is a good access point for a lot of those people. You know?
yeah. And it's just good family fun as well. So everyone of all ages can kind of enjoy it without the like some of the darker sides of Star
Oh
Wars,
yeah,
like you get in Andor and the Acolyte, maybe. But
yeah.
this one's definitely a bit more family friendly and a good kind of starting point to get people into the kind of Star Wars universe. But yeah, a lot of people slept on it and missed out on what was a really good series. So yeah, check that out, guys. If you haven't, it's on Disney Plus. We're not sponsored by Disney Plus, but go watch it. You know, the more people watch Star Wars content, the more Star Wars content we can get in the future. But yeah, that was it for January. Yeah, new comic and a TV show coming to an end, which is probably going to be the final episode of it. Now, over February, March, and April, we also had a few more things happening. So, in February, Lucasfilm launched the Reign of the Empire book trilogy with Alexander Freed's The Mask of Fear. But yeah, those trilogies, it's over a 3-year span, which is absolutely crazy. How long people are going to have to wait for these books. And the first book is now out, and probably by the time of this podcast, it'll be a month or two away before the next book. What do you know about the Reign of the Empire book trilogy? Have you checked it out yet? I've got to
Well,
be honest, I've not got round to it yet.
I was intrigued to hear that they're doing another trilogy because when they did the Aftermath trilogy, which was set, I think, just before the Force Awakens, again, it was a similar sort of release schedule to what you're saying there, CJ. And I remember each time I came around, I'd almost forgotten that they were coming, but it was that dose of Star Wars that I was waiting for, you know. So hopefully these can provide something like that and fill a gap that maybe a lot of people have been missing because the main books that have been coming out that have been serialized have been the High Republic ones, obviously, which I know we're going
Hmm.
to touch on later. So yeah, no, excited to see that there's sort of some more long form trilogy storytelling in the books, you know.
Yeah, for me, I always kind of wait till everything's out and then get them because I'm one of those people where I'm like, I'd be going through it all and then going,
Yeah.
I've got to wait a year now. Like the final book is not going to be out until spring 20. Let me check that. Yes, spring 2027, which is just crazy. That's another 2 years to get to the end of this trilogy. But
I'm just constantly behind now, mate. I think we were saying earlier off camera that I'm always reading these books, but it was a point where it was like I was in time, I was in loop, we're in flow state, I was with it. That's long gone. I am
yeah,
now trying desperately to catch up, and I'm lucky if I'm within sort of like a 6 month period of these releases. So for me, probably by the time I get to it, they will all be out.
And it focuses on Mon and Bail Organa setting up the rebellion, which is very popular right now because of
Mm.
Andor, which we'll talk about. But getting some more Mon and Bail is obviously very interesting to me, especially now because it's Andor that's made me get really interested in how the rebellion was set up and how it started. And these books are going to give us more of that story. I wonder if any of them will cross into the Andor. I know it's at the very start of the rebellion, but do you think by the end of the trilogy, it might like this could be the introduction to Andor, maybe?
Well, it's the way that a lot of these books and comics work, isn't it, mate? We're sort of sewing the pieces together, providing sort of through lines and stuff like that. So I think
Mm,
it's highly possible that things that we've seen either in Andor or even in Star Wars Rebels that it's going to sort of lead into, and even things that maybe we saw in Revenge of the Sith. There was that, or didn't see. You know, there was a cut scene between Bail Organa, Mon Mothma, and some of the other
mm.
senators where they were starting to talk about forming the rebellion. So I mean, that would be a really good starting point, maybe, for the books to start at that scene that was never ever included and go from there potentially.
Maybe that could have been the inspiration for the books as well.
Mm, yeah, very
Who
possible.
knows? Who knows? But we also had a new comic series coming out called Jedi Knights, featuring stories of various Jedi before the Phantom Menace. And
How
I know
cool, mate. How cool were
Mace
those
Windu
covers?
was a
Yeah.
focus for that one as well, I believe.
Yeah, there's
But
some
yeah,
really great looking covers there with Mace Windu, and there's a bunch, one with a bunch of Jedi as well, isn't there?
yeah,
All sort of
that's the
prequel
one that
era.
is on screen right now. Luke can't see what's on screen, but yes, that image with all of them together is it makes it really exciting. That series is still ongoing as well.
What's
Um,
great here as well, CJ, is the way that like they're feeding all the fans here. You know, we just spoke about something where it's about the Empire and the building the rebellion, and this is about the prequels. You know, they're
mm.
not just focusing on this one area of the timeline; they're dotting it about.
Yeah. And as you said, we'll probably talk more about the High Republic very, very soon. But yes, to get this kind of time of Mace Windu around the time of the prequels is, again, we're getting, with the, as I said, there's so much content coming out. It's hard to keep up, and you've just
It
got to
is.
kind of focus on one area, and then you miss out on little bits here and there. But it's good for everyone that's interested in it. And then finally, towards the end of the February, March, April time, we had one of my favorite things to go to, and I'm devastated I did not make it to this one, which was Star Wars Celebration
Yeah,
Japan.
we didn't make it either, mate. But we did our own little stay up late for what 3 nights in a row, I think it was.
Hmm.
Felt a lot worse for wear, but afterwards. But yeah, we had a blast. Some really cool announcements over that, wasn't there?
Yeah, I made it to the London one. I've got my Star Wars Celebration T-shirts and merchandise, and managed to watch some of the panels. I was there helping out a friend's stall, and which got me in for free, which was great. And but the best part is the stall was in view of the stage. So I
Oh,
could see all of the screens,
nice.
all of the interviews, the crowd. It was amazing, and I remember doing Star Wars Celebration the first time it came to London as well,
I
and
missed that one. I didn't get to go to that one, but I went to the last one, and yeah, it was one of those moments that I'd always wanted to go, and I thought when I missed that first one, or maybe I've missed my chance. But yeah, it was fantastic.
But obviously Japan, we didn't get there, but it looked amazing, the setting of it, just the cultural mix of Star Wars and Japan. Absolutely amazing, which I know a lot of people have been loving, especially through Visions,
Yeah,
which again we'll talk about later on. Just just that setting was perfect, and I believe the next one isn't in 2026, it's
27.
2027,
Yeah,
and it's LA. Is that right?
yeah. I'm not entirely. Yeah, no, it is. It is. You're right.
Yeah, because they're
It is.
celebrating obviously a big birthday for Star Wars, so they're skipping it in 2026, which seems to be the most common thing now. They skip a year and go back a year. Um, but yeah, the Japan one had a lot of information. So
Oh
they
boy.
announced Star Wars Starfighter with Ryan Gosling.
How did you
Uh,
feel about that, CJ? Because when it happened, I was a bit taken aback that someone who's such an A-list celebrity was getting a Star Wars film.
I mean, I think Star Wars needs it after the reception of the sequel trilogy. I think a lot of people are wanting confidence back in the Star Wars movies. We will talk about the sequel movies another time. That is on the
Yeah.
docket for a future podcast. But I feel that a lot of fans are worried about
Mm.
how the movies are going forward, and we need maybe a bit of star power to get bums on seats again, get
Well, there's
confidence back in Star Wars.
plenty of star power in this film with Matt Smith and Mia Goth as
Mm,
well. I mean, that's quite a cast.
mm. And obviously, we don't know very much about the movie, and we're going to talk about that in next week's podcast, which is the 2026 preview. And yeah, I was a bit shocked by it, but I do love the idea that it's more focused on Starfighter. So we're going to get maybe some more aerial fighting.
Yeah.
Whether this movie's gonna get out on time is gonna be interesting because they've only just finished filming, which again we'll talk
Yes.
about in the December section, but that is a very quick turnaround. Now, I'll say this briefly. I'm excited for this because it's hopefully not going to involve Jedi's in the Force because I feel like there's been too much Jedi and Force that is ruining the movies. The Acolyte, I think, was too focused on it, and I think people get excited by the Force, but it's losing that mystique. Whereas Andor, which came out and we'll talk about in a second, didn't have that much to do with the Force at all. There was just that
No.
one woman that was on it towards the end, and that was
And
the
yeah,
only
then
mention of the Force. It was more story based, it was more character based, and I think that's why Andor was so successful. And it wasn't just the oh, he has some lightsabers. Oh, isn't it pretty? Like it focused on the story and the characters, and I am hoping Sean Levy, I hope I'm saying that right, Sean Levy,
yeah.
who is very good at doing character movies and character development, will deliver a good character story based Star Wars universe movie without trying to be too flashy. Obviously, we want action sequences, we want the star fighting and things like that, but a good story driven character based movie is what Star Wars needs right now. They need an Andor type movie that's basically that.
I hear you. But one of the things that bodes really well for what you're saying there, mate, is I read the other day that Sean Levy had not been happy with the last third of the film and he just tore it up and he started
Mm,
again. That's a bold and brave thing to do. His choices that he put on paper weren't working out in real life, and he went with something different that was going to serve the story better.
mm. And another thing that was announced there, which we'll again talk about in the next podcast, is the Darth Maul animated series Shadow Lord.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that, mate. The animation style, especially. I don't know if you did you catch the trailer?
It's a new animation style
Mm,
entirely, which is great to see. Like I like them when they're taking risks and trying something different. So those announcements were right at the very start of the year. And now we're at the point where these things are starting to come into fruition and we're actually
Yeah,
going to see like the trailer now. It's it's exciting times for Star Wars.
it is. It is. The brush strokes, especially on that animation style, it really gave something different, and there's a more of a textured feel to a lot of that.
Hmm. And obviously, towards the end of Star Wars Celebration, just after it, we have to talk about probably the biggest thing for Star Wars in 2025, and that is, of course, Andor Season 2.
Yeah, wow.
How amazing. Obviously, it started in the April and finished in the May. But wow, what a series indeed. I just did a video and feel free to check it out where we looked at the best episodes of Andor voted by you guys, the fans. And it was very interesting what fans picked as their best episodes from season one and season two. But season two had some absolutely amazing highlights and stories, like heartbreaking moments as well.
Some of those monologues, mate, they are burnt into my mind now. They were
Mm,
so powerful and so pertinent for the time. It
mm,
was, yeah, it was just really moving. And I say this all the time when I'm talking about it to people, but it wasn't just great Star Wars. It was like incredible television, like some of the
mm.
best I've ever seen, regardless of it being a Star Wars production.
Yeah, I think that's what helped it to be successful is you did
Mm,
not need to know the lore, you didn't need to know all of the what the Force and Jedi is and everything like that. You just knew that this empire was controlling people and there were people fighting back from this control. And with the we're not going to get into it, but with the current political climate in many countries, this I think hit a nerve with so many people and they could relate to it and they could understand it and they could
yeah.
relate to the characters. The characters were so humanized and it was just about people falling in love, fighting for the people they love and fighting against this tyranny of people that are trying to control them. And when you talk about the monologues, obviously the episode Welcome to the Rebellion, Mon's speech, where
Yeah.
she's calling the Empire out and not I was about to say Emperor Palpatine, but he wasn't Emperor then. Was he
No, he
Emperor?
was. Yeah,
Yeah,
he was
yeah,
the
you just took over, yeah. Yeah, I thought it was just still Senator Palpatine, like Chancellor Palpatine.
no, he's
But
taking
yeah,
control.
yeah, that guy.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, just that speech alone. I think Mon had some of the best scenes. Like I know it sounds weird, but the dance scene
Oh, that
was
was
a
amazing, mate.
particular highlight. Like the subtext behind it of what she's going through, what that she's had to arrange this marriage for her daughter for the rebellion
Mm.
is just crazy. And what she's basically just sold off her daughter to save the future and the sacrifice that she's had to make and getting more of her backstory and the sacrifices she had to make is just so interesting.
That was one of the amazing things about it, mate, because although it's called Andor and he's the titular character, and of course he's
Mm,
very important in it, characters like Bix, characters like
mm,
Mon and like Luthen, like they were equal pegging with Cassian Andor, in my opinion, and it really like help put a face to the members of the rebellion who, when you're watching the original trilogy, they're just background characters. They're just people who are
mm,
on the side of the goodies, but that nuance that it injected and that pathos was like powerful.
mm. And obviously, setting things up that could happen in the future. Bix has a child. Who's that child going to be? Are they ever going to go back to that? It'll be very, very interesting to see. Obviously, we know what happens in season three of Andor, entitled Rogue One.
Yeah.
Um, Worth checking that out whenever that comes out, guys. Yeah. Um, but I also feel like when I first heard Andor was coming out, I was kind of like, well, you kind of know where the characters are. You know where Mon is. You know what's going to happen to Andor himself. Like, what can they actually tell in this story? And I've got to say, I was absolutely over the moon. They proved me wrong in thinking, what can they actually cover in this show? I think
Mm.
Luthen was an absolutely brilliant character as well. And the end of his story was absolutely beautiful. And yeah, I think season two absolutely nailed it. Season one was brilliant, but I think season two really brought it back to the main story of how the rebellion was built. And I know there's a lot of time jumps as well through season 2, but
Yeah,
it was rightly paced. It made sense. It wasn't too
totally.
disjointed.
I was
But
really
yeah.
worried about that, to be fair, mate. When they said they were cutting back from 5 seasons down to 2, I thought, "Well, how are they gonna do this?" But those 3 episode arcs across the 2nd season, like I say, are really well paced, and the jumps aren't jarring at all, even though it's sort of like, what, a year, 2 years at a
Hmm,
time. It never feels, like you've lost track of the story, you know?
yeah. But that was Andor, and I'm sure many people loved Andor, and I'm sure many people in the comments will be talking about how much they loved Andor as well. And please do, because we'll read out some of your comments maybe in the next podcast. Moving on, obviously, the Andor season finale aired in May. In May, also, there was a release of a book, which was The Acolyte Wayseeker. Now, the Acolyte did not go down great with
Didn't, did it?
fans, and they probably prepared this book and information long before the series bombed out. But yeah, I don't
It's
think.
nice to add to the lore at least, mate. It's nice to
Mm,
build up around it, you know? I know that the show is cancelled, but, you know, as Luke Skywalker says, no one's ever really gone. You know, they may well
mm,
bring it back in other stories, in books, comics, etc. So, I'm sure there's some life left in some of the characters somewhere, and I guess in this book, they're proving that.
yeah, I think there's some interesting characters and stories, but the series just didn't really combine it. It didn't join it together. I know we're talking 2024 TV shows here, but it just didn't feel as well rounded, and the story wasn't as clear as what Andor was. But I do want to know more about that era and those
Mm.
characters and what's happening. And maybe this is the way in which they can do it. I think maybe an Acolyte game would maybe
Oh,
be
that'd
the
be
best
fun.
kind of way forward, where you could bring these characters back but do it in a more interesting, different way. I'd love to see that. I think that'd be really, really good.
I don't mind what they do as long as Kymir comes back eventually. He was such a great villain, mate. I
Mm,
think it'd be a real shame if they don't manage to get him back in something.
yeah, 100%. That's probably one of the most interesting parts of the Acolyte.
Yeah,
And to finish off that first sort of 6 month period in June, and I know you're excited about this one because you do like a lot of the High Republic. The
yeah.
Luminous era reached its literary peak with the release of Trials of the Jedi by Charles Soule. This novel served as the grand finale for the adult novels The High Republic Phase 3. Now, I know you want to talk a little bit about this, being a High Republic fan.
Well, mate, it's again, I'm guilty of unfortunately being way behind on the times
Mm,
with the books. I'm still right at the end of phase one, but what was really cool over the course of the years that the books have been going is seeing how the authors have all got together and managed to create this sort of entwined, consistent universe, sewing together pieces of the prequels, sewing together pieces of lore from other Star Wars projects. You know, um, I don't think any of us really, when Project Luminous was announced, thought it would be something like this. You know, there's a lot of
mm,
speculation around it being Yoda's backstory and things like that. And although he features,
mm.
it's very much its own creation. The way they've expanded into it across comics, books, it's just been a massive collaborative effort that I think, in my opinion, has been unlike any other kind of publishing initiative that Lucasfilm have done.
Yeah. And obviously, hopefully, we'll be getting more of the High Republic, maybe in some games and
That
stuff
would be
like
very
that
cool because
in the future.
Eclipse
Hmm.
Eclipse was announced last year. Of course, it's
Hmm.
still in development, still due to come. But yeah, I don't think we're done with High Republic at all. It's just the beginning, you know.
Well, they've been trying to introduce it more into mainstream because obviously the Jedi Survivor series started referencing more of the High Republic as well and
Yeah.
introducing people to it. We've obviously got the games coming out in the future as well. So I think we're going to see a lot more of the High Republic. And I think this series is only going to become more and more popular when people want more lore, they want more backstory, and they will go back to these as well, which I think would be really, really cool. Which then brings us to the halfway point of the podcast. So I'm going to hand it over to our sponsor, which is me. Well, hello there. Are you a fan of Star Wars content? Well, make sure you're subscribed to the What Culture Star Wars YouTube channel. Yeah, just type it in the search bar and you can find us. And if you're watching the video version of this, you can hit that subscribe button at the bottom right now. And if you're listening to the audio podcast, don't forget to click follow and like and leave us some reviews so we can do more of these. But don't do that for me. Do it for him. Do it for Grogu.
Bad baby.
Well, thanks me for reminding us to subscribe. But yes, July is a big one, and I'm glad this is coming straight after the halfway point because Revenge of the Sith 20th anniversary. That is making me feel so old. I remember seeing all the prequels in the cinema and queuing up for them and sneaking into the cinema to see the trailer for The Phantom Menace in front of Meet Joe Black and stuff like that because the internet wasn't good back then. But thankfully, by the time Revenge of the Sith came out, you could watch the trailers online much easier. But 20 years since Revenge of the Sith,
I'm
which is
so glad they put it back in cinemas, mate, because I've got to admit, it's the one that I hadn't seen in the cinema up until
mm,
now. And what a difference it makes seeing it in the cinema. I would never have described myself as a fan of it before, but the soundscape especially really hit me. The scale of it is so much bigger in the cinema. It was
mm.
really special seeing it on the silver screen.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people like it's amazing when they first came out, a lot of Star Wars fans hated on it and things like that. But now a younger generation of Star Wars fans are coming through. They watch these, and that was their introduction to Star Wars. Those three films made people love Star Wars. And of course, it's going to get more love now. And I'm glad to see that Hayden is getting a lot more love and respect from Star Wars fans now. I remember the moment when he came out in London and everyone was cheering for him, and you could see he was getting emotional about it as well when we're talking about the Kenobi series. Um, God, like a year and a bit ago. Like, I'm glad to see that these are getting a lot more love. A lot of people will just hate on them for hating's sake. But you know what? When I saw it in the cinema as well, again for the second time, like, it's a good film. It's
Very good, mate.
enjoyable.
Very good. It honestly, I it wasn't even that I disliked it. It just hadn't tickled me in that way that the other
Mm,
stories do. When it comes to the prequels, I'm a big Phantom Menace guy, and then the other two never really did it for me. But seeing it in the cinema was just totally different experience and gave me a whole different perspective on it. Um, and I think also being able to see it in retrospect, having watched all of the Clone Wars now as well,
mm.
it helps add to it.
Yeah, I think the Clone Wars series has really helped people get an understanding of the characters, and it's good that it actually does all link in and make sense if you watch it all in one
Yeah.
go. Like, if you haven't watched the Clone Wars, guys, you need to check it out. It is amazing. I actually rate it higher than these prequel films. I think the Clone
No, I
Wars
do.
just really helps you to understand Anakin's kind of motivations and where he gets to the point where he's willing to turn on the Jedi and get to the point of where he is now. And it also gives you a better kind of understanding of Kenobi and
Mm.
what he's had to go through to get to this point. And obviously, the ending between him and Anakin. And you really feel like the battle at the end is just amazing. Like,
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. I don't think anyone can knock that all with Anakin and
Hot
Ben.
as well, mate. When you think about a lot of films which are CGI heavy of that era, you'll see a lot of them over the festive period on television.
Mm,
They don't quite hold the way that this does. I was expecting it to be a bit janky, a bit awkward, but
mm.
no, the scene in particular you're talking about is just brilliant.
Mm. And I think I'm not a big fan of lots of CGI. I prefer practical.
No, me
That's why I
too.
think some of like hands up, some of the Phantom Menace CGI does not hold up, which is fair. Look, it's a victim of its time. It can only do so much. But when you compare that to the likes of
Mm,
Jurassic Park is years old, but still holds up. And I feel like some of these, because it was so CGI heavy, it kind of takes away from the experience. But I know that's kind of tough because they're meant to be on different planets and stuff like that. But sometimes I feel like because the technology was there and George got excited. He maybe did too much with them.
Well,
But
it's in the DNA, isn't it, mate? It's in the Lucas sort of like MO with ILM,
mm,
always pushing the envelope. You know, it's what he did with the originals, and it's what he tried to do with these. And had he had the sequel trilogy, I'm sure he'd be doing things there where people were sort of saying, "Well, I'm not so sure," you know.
mm,
But ultimately, without those films and without the CGI that we enjoyed in those films, that maybe some of it has held up, some of it not as good in the Phantom Menace, etc., we wouldn't have the cinema we've got today. It was really, really of its time, setting the standard, you know?
yeah. So let's move on because otherwise I think we could just talk about, and maybe in the future podcast, let us know if you want us to do a future podcast going through and talking about the good and the bad of the prequels. I think that'd be a really good one where we rate the good things and the bad things and see actually, is there more good or is there more bad in these movies? I think that'd be a really interesting. I'm gonna write that down. All right.
Get that down.
Yeah. The light and the dark side of the prequels. Because I think that'd be interesting to see. Is it actually as bad as what people think it is? But that was July. Now, moving on to August, we had the novel Sanctuary, a Bad Batch novel, was released, filling gaps from Clone Force 99 during their time on Pabu. At D23, which is the big Disney sort of celebration where they talk about all of their products and everything like that. We got our first behind the scenes footage of The Mandalorian and Grogu, which I
Wow.
know a lot of people are excited about. A lot of people are excited about it. I am genuinely worried.
Oh, you worried?
I'm worried because so far, like based on the past few movies, like I've enjoyed all the movies,
Mm,
but the movies haven't, other than Rogue One recently, no movies I feel have been big hits have really kind of won audiences over. And I'm worried that a TV show, because you got that time to draw out the storyline, develop the characters and stuff.
yeah.
I'm worried that The Mandalorian and Grogu might not stand up because a lot of people don't watch the TV series, might not go to the cinema to watch it. And what are
Mm,
Disney expecting box office wise? And the main reason I'm worried is if this doesn't be a hit at the cinema, does that mean Disney will go, oh, nobody wants this anymore? And we don't get a season 4 of the TV show. I know John Favreau has said that he has the series planned out, but my worry is that people who haven't watched the series don't go to the movies and Disney count that as a fail and don't bring the series back. What is Disney expecting from this movie? Because it's not a standalone film in a sense.
mm.
You've got 3 seasons of lore that you need to catch up and understand about these characters.
And it's going
Uh,
to lead straight into Ahsoka as well, I think, mate. The second season, from what I've
mhm,
read, so it's all part of this intertwined web. So I get where your concern is coming from. Certainly, I would say that we've had a little break since things have been in cinema, and maybe there's a bit of a hunger building for it. And
mm,
also, the other week it was out that I think it was 1 billion streams that The Mandalorian has got all over Disney Plus. That's a lot
mm.
of people who have seen it. So, you know, even if a fraction of those people who have seen it go to the cinema, you'd think they're onto a winner here, hopefully.
I hope so. I hope so. Like, I 100% expect it to be, but you know, when you just have that worry based on previous Star Wars properties and
Oh yeah, no, I
how they've
see.
been happening, and Star Wars fans are always the first to complain.
Well, that's the
Um,
one thing we can be sure of, mate, is that
yeah,
no matter how good it is, no matter what people, what you think, what I think, there's going to be someone who hates it, and they're going to be very
mm,
noisy about it. But you
yeah,
know, that'd be happening no matter what. Even Andor, there's people out there saying how much they didn't like it, and you know, to me, that's pretty objectively brilliant television. But there we go.
yeah. So obviously we're going to talk a bit more about that later on as well. But moving on as well, let me just load this next one. Also in August and September, Star Wars Outlaws arrived on the Nintendo Switch 2, and they released a Pirate's Fortune DLC featuring return of the fan favorite scoundrel Hondo. Um, so yeah, it's just crazy. Outlaws again didn't have the best reception when it first came out.
No.
It was a bit buggy. There were a few issues with it, but then they fixed it. I don't know what it is with Star Wars games and coming out buggy. I know Jedi, The Jedi Survivor series as well had a few bugs on both games when they came out, but the fact that it's on Switch 2 now just shows how much power the Switch 2 I'm going into gaming mode here, I won't. But, at least it's portable, and I've enjoyed I haven't finished it, but
No,
I have
I haven't
enjoyed
either.
it.
I've
It's
really
on my
enjoyed it, mate.
list. It's on
Uh,
my list this Christmas, I'm gonna
I
lie.
would
Not
say
gonna lie.
that if you're expecting a game to be revolutionary and be absolutely out of this world, then it's probably not the game for you.
Mm,
But what it does do, it does really well. It's just enjoyable, man. Not everything you play has to be revolutionary. And for me, it's just a solid Star Wars game, open world. Um, I loved it, to be honest, mate. I thought it was really good. And like you, I haven't finished it either.
mm.
But
Which is
yeah,
kind
more
of
of that.
worrying. It kinda says a lot that, we're kind of not finished it yet. Like it's a good game, but it's not a game where I've felt compelled, like, oh, I put it down. Oh, I really
Yeah, I
should
get what you're
play
saying.
that. I mean, don't get us wrong, I'm busy playing Ghost of Yotei, and because I've been that busy, I haven't finished it. And Ghost of Yotei is an amazing game, but I know that it's not the best game in the world because I'm not bothered that I haven't finished it. And
Yeah, no, I hear
Outlaws
you.
kind of has that where I feel the need, I need to finish it. Like when I was playing Baldur's Gate 3, I had to finish it. I had to play it. Like the Spider-Man games, I had to finish them. Jedi Survivor, I had to finish it. Whereas
Mm,
Outlaws, just I felt a little bit let down by it. And again, I know it
fair,
was a
mate.
game that came out in 2024, but it came out on the Switch too. It got new DLC, but I don't think the DLC was enough to bring people back.
No, I do wonder if what you're describing there with some of the other games is because they have such clear, defined stories, even in things like Baldur's
Mm,
Gate. I do wonder with Outlaws if sometimes maybe because it is left so open to like what you do and when, if that does mean that you lose momentum with it and desire to complete it, so to speak, because I know from my personal position, I spend a lot of time wandering around playing Sabacc, doing the side missions, and maybe not as much time doing the main missions.
mm. Now, I know we've mentioned it, but also in September time, they actually released the first trailer. So D23 gave us some behind the scenes and they showed the footage to the D23 crowd, but we as a public finally got to saw the trailer for Mandalorian and Grogu, and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, this is the one where they're cleaning out the 8080, right? On the
Mhm.
one shot. That one shot going all the way through, that's just killer, mate.
And there'll be a new trailer very soon. It'll probably be out by the time this podcast comes out
Yeah,
because they're currently showing it with
Avatar.
Avatar. Avatar. So
Yeah.
while we're recording this, Avatar has just come out in the cinema. So I'm fully expecting the trailer will probably be released probably when this comes out. So I'm excited to look at that. But right now, we've only seen one trailer, and that one trailer it does look good. It looks like a good Star Wars slash Mandalorian TV series type movie. But as I've said before, my reservations are we going to get enough bums on seats? And are Disney, and we all know Disney love their money, um, are they going to be
Iger loves
happy
his
with
money,
the
that's
box?
for sure.
Yeah. Is that going to, what are they expecting box office wise? They can't be expecting Marvel Avatar levels of
I don't
money.
know, man. I don't know. One thing to again, hopefully, get you more positive about this is I was lucky enough to speak to Brendan Wayne and Lateef Crowder, who are two of the three people, along with Pedro, who play Din Djarin.
Mm,
They say that it's very much going back to the season one, season two vibes. Uh,
mm,
Lone Wolf and Cub going in there, clearing out the Imperials, getting rid of the Remnant. Back to what made the show really popular. As I know, obviously, the season three wasn't quite as well received. So fingers crossed, touch wood. I don't know whether they're expecting Marvel sort of numbers. Um,
mm.
but when they've streamed what to 1 billion plays, I really think that surely a good percentage of those people are going to go to the cinema.
Mm. We'll soon find out. I feel like we should place a bet closer to the
Yeah,
time. And all of you guys can help us. We will do a Mandalorian and Grogu bet. How much will it make by the
over
end
or
of
under.
2026? Yeah. It'd be interesting to get everyone's opinions. But please let us know in the comments or on socials to, when this is released. And we'll talk about some of these in the 2026 podcast. What are your
Definitely.
thoughts and feelings on The Mandalorian and Grogu and what Disney's expectations are? I'd be very interested to hear everyone's thoughts on that. I really would.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to hear the audience's expectations as well, right?
Mm, yeah. So let's move on to October and November. So at New York Comic Con, Lucasfilm announced the Star Wars Legacy, a new novel exploring Rey's training under Leia between Episode 8 and 9. That's an interesting one because,
Yeah.
again, a lot of people are still hating on the Rey Skywalker trilogy. Um, is this something that you feel people will be wanting?
Well, the people who love it are gonna love it, mate. It's an area which I'm interested in because I feel that the whole Leia being a Jedi, Leia connected to the Force, is quite underdeveloped in terms of story right now,
Mm,
and it is interesting to me. Um, but yeah, I think you're always going to get dissenting voices, like with any of the timeline. But a bit like what you said about the prequels earlier, the further away we get from it, and it's 10 years since the Force
mm,
Awakens, I think the more you're gonna have people who grew up with it come round and get into it more. So maybe someone who was 10 when they saw The Force Awakens, who's now 20, maybe they go, really love this book, you know?
yeah. Yeah, and maybe we'll find out how she managed to pull herself through space in the second film, and hold her breath for so long. Maybe that's part of the training. I don't like bad mouthing Star Wars films, but that bit just seemed a bit too
It didn't
much.
do it for you.
It did not do it for me. Might
Fair
don't get us
enough.
wrong. If I could do that, I'd be over the moon, but I'm not planning on going to space any time soon. But also coming out around that time as well, we had Star Wars Visions Volume
Mm,
3. I've
really
only
good.
seen a few of the episodes. I absolutely love the Japanese samurai style, and I'm so excited for next year where we're actually getting more content in that way. And I'll talk
Yeah.
about that in the next podcast and how excited I am and what I love about it so much. Not going to talk about it now, but yeah, Visions Volume 3 was absolutely brilliant. I absolutely loved the episode called The Smuggler, um, which I'd love to see more of that developed as well. I thought that was absolutely brilliant. But I thought it was a really strong season overall.
Well, they
Really, really
are they
enjoyed it.
are bringing back ideas now, aren't they? Because obviously the Last Jedi, and I've forgotten the name of the other one where they've brought it back, but bringing ideas from previous seasons in again, and I think even independent series for like the Last
Mm,
Jedi as well. Not Last Jedi, sorry, the Ninth Jedi.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so it's fully possible that they'll take that idea and develop it further. CJ, it's really cool to see these stories where like they're free of the shackles of
Mm.
canon and they're just letting their creativity go.
Mm. And I do like the kind of Star Wars multiverse, whatever you want to call it. And having that freedom to go, this is what we could do. This is what could be
Mm.
interesting. And playing around with those ideas, I think is absolutely amazing. And I'm here for more of it as well. So
Yeah,
who knows? Maybe we'll get a volume 4. Maybe we'll see some of these characters appear in live action in some form,
that'd
like
be cool.
maybe not in the same version of themselves, but like referencing them and stuff. I think that would be absolutely amazing. Moving on, because we've still got a lot of things happening. The novel Star Wars Master of Evil by Adam Christopher was released, focusing on Darth Vader's early years and his journey to Mustafar to bleed his Kyber crystal. Now, we were speaking about this briefly before the podcast.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
a big fan of Adam Christopher's work. I've only read a little bit of this one so far. It has to tiptoe very carefully around Charles Soule's comic run, which is, difficult when you're trying to maintain that one canon continuity.
hmm,
And one of the key ways that it does it is telling it through the eyes of an Imperial Guard. One of the Red Guards that Palpatine is guarding Palpatine. There's mixed reaction to it, but what I've read so far, it's interesting. I'm enjoying it. It's not what I would thought it was going to be. I will say that. But Adam Christopher, his previous book, Shadow of the Sith, is one of my favorite Star Wars books ever. So I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes.
hmm, yeah. And finally, at the end of November, Daisy Ridley has confirmed in interviews that her new Jedi Order film is still in active development. Now, I love it when celebrities say it's an active development, which basically means that we've wrote and talked about it, but nothing else is happening. Like, if they had confidence in this film, it would already probably have a script and be in production by now. A bit like the Ben Solo movie, which was came out and people are talking about it in November as well.
Mm.
What are your thoughts on this Ben Solo movie and this new Jedi Order led Rey movies as well?
Well, I'm all for the Ben Solo return. I'm a
Mm,
big Ben Solo fan. I feel that his story is so much more nuanced than just a bad guy or emo with a lightsaber. So yeah, I'm all
mm,
for that. And having Steven Soderbergh on board, incredible. Adam Driver obviously is fantastic. So fingers crossed. It seems to be gaining a bit of momentum online. Um, in regards to the Ray movie, what I would say, CJ, is that they've got a lot of moving parts right now because I believe that everything they're doing is really going to try and sort of tie into this in some way, whether it is the Grogu stuff at the moment or whether it's what's happening in Starfighter. Somehow they're going to be trying to tie this all together to make it more cohesive. And while these projects are still moving, it must be really difficult to write a script. And really, they must know they've got to get this right because, you know, I like the sequels, but they were underwhelming when it came to story towards the end, especially that last film. Let's give them a story that's worth telling. Let's not just rush out anything. So if it's like this for another year, another 2 years, I don't mind as long as they get it right, you know?
yeah. Well, it's just like coming back to what I was saying earlier. Let's have more character story driven movies than, oh, we have lightsabers, we have the force. Let's have big action sequences and people will
Mm,
pay money. I feel like audiences now want more than that.
no, totally. And there is a story to be told there, mate, in what do the Jedi look like after this? You know,
Mm,
how do they move forwards? Do they keep to the same dogmatic doctrine? Like there are stories to be told there on both
mm,
small scale and large scale. Um, I really do think they just need to figure out what of the current projects is going to lead into
mm.
it.
I'd love to see more of them approaching more of the grey Jedi style. Like there is no light and obviously there's going to be dark, like someone who's evil, but kind of getting that whole. If you can get just the balance right, like of like the great Jedi style of yes, you can have families, you can do this, just don't abuse the Force for your own means. And I'd love to see that sort of direction and see how that goes. But
Mm,
who knows where this story is at the minute. But I think you're right in saying that the Ben Solo, when that came out, there was more excitement about that than this new Jedi Order one with Daisy Ridley. And I've got a funny feeling with it still being in active development.
mm,
I think they threw out the Ben Solo information to see what are people more interested in because it gets
totally.
leaked. But
Well,
that's
it
just marketing trying to find out what fans want.
it seemed very much like Driver himself was sort of putting it out as a guerrilla sort of campaign
Mm,
to go back to Iger because he was saying Iger wasn't interested because he couldn't understand how he
mm,
would be alive. I don't think it really matters about how he would be alive. What matters to Iger is whether it's going to make money and whether there's interest. So putting
mm.
it out there, making sure that Iger is then aware that there is an audience for this, which means there's money, which means that he is interested. Really,
Yeah, there's always ways of kind of, it could be ways went to the between place where Ahsoka goes and things like that.
yes.
There's so many workarounds that
We'll
could
have
do
to do
this.
an episode on this, mate, because I've got some tinfoil hat theories for you.
Right, add it on the list. Anyone
Yeah,
else got
get
any
it down.
tinfoil theories? Drop them in the comments so we can discuss. That'd be a fun episode to do where we just discuss fan theories and do we think they are possible and are they not? That I think that'd be a lot of fun. I want to do some fun discussions with the community. Which brings us to November, end of November, which brings us to December, our current month. And principal photography has finished on Star Wars Starfighter. Now we have talked about this earlier, so we won't go into loads of detail. But one thing I didn't ask you, Luke, was
Mm.
are you actually excited for this movie?
I
Because this is
don't know.
2027
Yeah, no,
that's coming
I
out.
I don't really know, mate. I'm excited that there's going to be another Star Wars movie. I'm
Mm,
excited that Mia Goth's in a Star Wars movie and
mm,
Matt Smith and uh, you know, I'm obviously gonna go see it. But I think there's
mm,
such little information right now. It's hard to be like, oh, I can't wait, you know.
mm.
Very much focused on what's coming next. But yeah, I've got faith in Sean Levy. Like I said, I was really buoyed by the fact that he went, no, actually, this last third is not working. Throw it away. Really bold move. The last time he did that with a film was Rogue One, and that didn't turn out so bad. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know about excited, but I do hold optimism.
Hope. Hope is
Yeah.
the key word. A New Hope for the Star Wars movie. That'd be a good title
It
for a
would be a
Star
good time. I
Wars.
don't know why no one's ever done that.
No, I've got absolutely no clue. And to finish off December as well, Jedi Adventures season 3 finished up as well, and I know a lot of people enjoyed that, and that brought to the end of that series run. Wasn't particularly my type of show, but I know a lot of people loved and enjoyed it. I don't know if you
Yeah.
watched any of it, but
I've seen a couple episodes with my boy. He likes the I've forgotten the lad's name. He likes the blue bear, Nubs. He
mm,
likes the blue bear. Yeah, very cute, and very fun for him as a introduction into Star Wars. You know.
yeah. And that brings us pretty much up to date as we record this 2 days before Christmas. Unless what's going to happen is we record this and there'll be some huge news. So if we've missed anything,
That'd be
apologies,
cruel.
guys.
That would be
Yeah,
cruel doing that on
yeah.
Christmas Eve. I think.
Yeah, well, they'll probably release that brand new Mandalorian and Grogu
Mm,
trailer, but we'll definitely be talking about that when that comes out. But yeah, that was the year, that was 2025. And looking back, there was a lot of Star Wars content. Now, would you
mm.
say it's been a good year for Star Wars, or would you say it's been a bad year for Star Wars? Because there's been a mix of different content, media, comics. We didn't mention the audiobook. We forgot about that, but there was an
Yeah.
audiobook that came out as well. Comics, novels, books, TV shows, no movies, but movie news. Was it a good year for 2025 for Star Wars?
I mean, one of the wonderful things about Star Wars, mate, is that it covering all these different mediums and having all these different kinds of stories across all these different points in the timeline means that for someone, it's the best ever year. But then for other people, it will be disappointing. For me, as a fan broadly of everything, it was really great to see such a wide array. But yeah, I think really we're waiting on that next film, right? I mean, the
Mm,
films are a different gravy.
yeah. And that unfortunately makes or breaks Star Wars. Star Trek, known for its TV shows, the movies do all right, but it doesn't break Star Trek. But Star Wars has always been about its movies,
Mm,
and that's going to be the impact. Don't get us wrong, TV series are starting to become brilliant, but they've been very hit or miss. The movies need something, and can Mando and Grogu be the answer to it?
mm.
Now, before we finish this podcast, we did reach out to the community. I put something in the YouTube community section and also on our social media. And if you're not following on social media, please check out Instagram. It is I want to say SW What Culture. I've totally forgot. My brain has just went totally blank.
It's a new
It is.
account. It's an
It's What
entirely new
Culture.
account.
Yeah, it's a new account. It's What Culture SW. What Culture Star Wars. So yeah, please go follow that. There'll be a link in the comments below. But I reached out and Luke reached out as well, and we got quite a lot of comments. So Evelyn Brigham, Commander Apple, Danielle Tilly 888, Indiana Jones 7980, all straight were like Andor season 2. Andor season 2
Mm.
was our highlight. We absolutely loved Andor season 2. Which is not shocking. A lot of people have said that they absolutely loved Andor. Alpha Glitch Girl went into a bit more detail in her response. So let me read this. So Alpha Glitch Girl said, Skeleton Crew. I know it's more of a 2024 show, but the last ep out came out in January 25. Exactly. That's why we talked about it. You're welcome. A series that really surprised us all, I think. It's fair to say, really fun, and the feel of it was unlike anything we'd had before. Unique, different, but still Star Warsy. Star Warsy? Is that Warsy? Is that
I
a
think
real
she's
word?
nailed it there. I think
I
she's
think,
nailed it.
yeah, Star Wars is definitely a real word. We'll go with it.
Yeah.
I hope we get more from the show or characters someday.
Fingers crossed, Dave. As we
Yeah.
said, not much hope for a second season, but hopefully come back with the characters.
Yeah, the characters would be good to see. Alf the Elf said, Andor cemented itself as the best piece of television I've ever seen. Its second season this year, and being in the room when Maul Shadow Lord was announced will forever be a core memory.
Now, Alf has an incredible Darth Maul cosplay. So
Mm.
look him up online. Alf the Elf, incredible.
I
Really
have I have seen them. I
spot on.
recognize the name. It is a
Yeah.
very good Darth Maul. And it's not just the shower cap over the face and
No.
holes poked in it. No, no, it's a very, very good Darth Maul. So well
So I'm
done,
not
Alf.
surprised he's excited for Darth Maul.
Yeah. Final comment from the community is from H Hammer 5 or Hammer 5. I feel nothing will top Andor season 2 for quite a while. I can understand that. There's always so many fantastic things happening in books and comics, though my reading this year has been light. Some recent single issues that spring to mind are a Jedi Knights issue drawn all from a Padawan's POV. Interesting.
Mm.
And Boba Fett Black, White, and Red issue 3. Perhaps the main highlight for me this year has been meeting so many people in the Star Wars creative fan community. And that's what I love about that comment as well. The
Yeah.
fan community, when everyone is positive and chatting. And what I love seeing is that there are a lot of people in the community cannot enjoy something and actually have some healthy debate and chat. And that's what I want to see in the comments. I want us to bring up some topics and have a healthy debate and chat. And then we can bring your comments into the podcast and discuss it. We want this to be a community podcast. We want to get your thoughts and opinions and discuss them. We could even just have a podcast where you drop in your thoughts about Star Wars and we discuss some of those points in there. But I'm assuming, look, you agree with most of the comments they're saying there about obviously Skeleton Crew, Andor, and just the comics and books and how much
It's
media has
hard
been.
hard to escape Andor being the standout, isn't it? When it's
Yeah.
something that is seminal television or seminal storytelling, let alone Star Wars, it does eclipse everything else. Unfortunately, it's just an entirely different level. But lovely to hear some love for other things as well.
Mm. Yeah, more love for Star Wars. I know there's a lot of people that hate things, and I can be negative about Star Wars as well. But as long as you're also evening out with the positive, everyone's allowed an opinion.
Mm.
Everyone's allowed to say what they think and just be nice about it. Some people, everyone's opinion differs. But that brings us to the end of our first Rebel Roundup podcast. Now, if you've listened this far, thank you so much for joining us. And if you've watched as well, hopefully the audio podcast will be up and running as well. So you will be able to find an audio copy of this podcast. There are going to be video podcasts. You can find us here on the YouTube channel of What Culture Star Wars and look out for What Culture Rebel Roundup on audio as well. I've been joined with Luke. I like that Wookie on socials. Any final thoughts or anything you'd like to say, Luke?
I can't wait to look into 2026 and everything we've got coming up in this coming year, mate. There's a lot of really, really great projects that are going to be really fun to talk about with you and with the rest of the community.
Yeah, and so make sure you let us know what you're looking forward to in 2026. We'll be putting a post out for that as well. But thank you for joining me. I was CJ Allen, aka CG the Geek. This was What Culture's Star Wars Rebel Roundup. And of course, may the Force be with you.